So I guess if this thing comes up short, he can field it and run it out. All right, here we go. 56-yarder. Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
What's going on, guys? Kid here. Before we hop into the video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to turn on post notifications. Also, don't be afraid to drop a comment below, as we love to interact with our listeners. We look forward to a great year of sports in 2021. And although our biggest following right now is college football, please be aware that we plan to cover every sport from MMA to boxing to hockey and baseball. So bear with us as we wait for the season to begin and start content from those respective leagues. We were blown away by the amount of support and numbers we did in our debut episode of The Problem With, and we couldn't wait to begin dropping more. Look forward to episode 3 sometime in the next 10 days as we plan to pour these out as quickly as possible. Also, let us know what you think the problem is for the teams we talk about. Hope you enjoy. For episode 2, we look at the problem with the Auburn Tigers. The Auburn Tigers have faced triumph and heartbreak over the last 2 decades. Located in the SEC West, Auburn on yearly averages competes with that of Alabama and LSU, with a mention that they see Georgia once a year as well. Their schedule isn't easy, but believe it or not, in the past they found a way to overcome it. Where would you place Auburn on the tier list of the SEC? They don't find as much success as LSU or Alabama, but they also don't have a 40-year drought such as Georgia. Auburn has 2 national championships. Their first ring came in 1957, where they won in an unmannerly fashion. Auburn was ineligible for a bowl game, having been placed on probation indefinitely by the SEC after paying 2 high school players over $500 apiece. So even without playing in the championship game, Auburn was crowned the champions. But they weren't alone. They were also crowned along with Ohio State in one of the rare occasions where there's 2 champions, sort of like 2017 with UCF. Auburn was the powerhouse of the SEC with their head coach Ralph Jordan. Auburn looked like they were ready to fill the cases. But little did they know it would begin a 53-year-old drought before they would get another chip. And that's where we start the problem with the Auburn Tigers.
Tonight, we feature a Heisman Trophy winner on one team, Auburn's Cam Newton, and the nation's leading rusher on the other, Oregon's LaMichael James. They now come head-to-head in the 2011 Tostitos BCS National Championship.
Monday, January 10th, 2011. The Tostitos BCS National Championship. Auburn is led by 5-star quarterback Cam Newton in the midst of a Heisman-winning season. He was the best player in college football. Cam Newton led the nation in total touchdowns, finishing with 30 passing, 20 rushing, and 1 receiving for a total of 51. Head coach Chizik was ending his second stint as the Auburn head coach and proving the fans who doubted him wrong. They would be facing a very good Oregon team led by Chip Kelly in his second season as well. It was the closest a Pac-12 team had gotten to a championship since Washington was crowned in 1991. Running back LaMichael James was the story for Oregon, a threat to say the least, and Darren Thomas was under center looking to outplay Cam. Game underway, both quarterbacks started the game slow. 2 picks between both quarterbacks early in the first quarter. Cam Newton threw his 6th interception of the season, but Thomas would drive Oregon down the field and throw another pick. Cam Newton would drive his team down the field and throw a deep touchdown ball that would give them the lead, but Oregon wouldn't back down. After touchdowns, safeties, drop passes, and stellar defensive performance by Fairley, the clutch forced fumble, 4th down conversion, and 2-point conversion, Oregon found a way to tie the game at 19 apiece with 2.5 minutes to go. On the game-winning drive, we see one of the most iconic BCS National Championship plays of all time in Michael Dyer's long run that put them in field goal range and would lead to a game-winning kick. Auburn would end the drought and was finally on top again. The key to Auburn's success that season wasn't so much as Chizik, but the stellar play from Cam Newton's all-time Heisman season, defensive plays from some of Auburn's best of all time, and the offensive mind of Gus Malzahn. The big problem left for Auburn was the departure of dominant quarterback Cam Newton, who left for the NFL draft where he'd be selected first overall by the Carolina Panthers, which left them with the not-so-dominant Barrett Trotter and Clint Mosley. It also left him without Gus Malzahn, who left to be the head coach at Arkansas State for a few years. What was the future like for Auburn without a Heisman-tier quarterback under center? The answer, not good.
Hightower. He's coming. Mosley goes deep, intercepted, picked off easily. On the overthrow, this is D. Milner. Dives, touchdown, Alabama.
The next season for Auburn was lackluster to say the least. They returned to the mediocre team we saw in the 53-year drought, with an embarrassing Week 1 win against Utah, a loss to Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers, a 4-4 SEC record with losses to Georgia, LSU, Bama, and Arkansas, by a combined score of 170-45, and a head coach in Gene Chizik who didn't look like a coach who had the ability to bring his team back to the championship. Auburn would finish the season 8-5 with a win in a Chick-fil-A Bowl against Virginia. The clear change in Auburn's team from the dominance we saw a season before was the lack of a dominant quarterback, a great offensive play caller, and a dominant defense Auburn seems to have only every 4 years. Under the fourth year, Gene Chizik got Auburn even worse. They became the laughingstock of the SEC with an 0-8 conference record and a total record of 3-9. They lost to Vanderbilt, which should pretty much tell you everything you need to know. It was then Gene was fired.
Chris, your reaction when you first heard that Chizik is out?
Well, not surprised. I was in Tuscaloosa yesterday, and it was all but done then. I think it's really been done for several weeks now. And when you have a program that crashes the way Auburn did in a state like Alabama, let's not forget that everything's magnified in that state by what Alabama's doing. They're getting ready to potentially play for the third national championship in the last 4 years. And I think if you're the brass at Auburn, you just can't take a chance on letting them sort of widen that gap that's already pretty sizable at this point.
It's my honor and privilege to introduce our 26th head coach, Coach Gus Malzahn. Gus.
War Eagle.
Gus Malzahn, the current Arkansas State head coach and one of the centerstones for Auburn's championship-winning season in 2011, was hired back to Auburn, but this time as a head coach. He was hired to replace Chizik and became the centerstone for Auburn once again. His first season back with Auburn as head coach would go down as one of the most magical seasons of all time, almost becoming one of the most magical seasons, falling 3 points short. With the Chizik era out of the window, it was time for Auburn to attempt a return to greatness, and they would. Led by quarterback Nick Marshall and running back Trey Mason, Auburn's offense was elite again. And with D. Ford, Carl Lawson, and Chris Davis on the defensive side of the ball, Auburn had returned to having the dominant defense they can have every blue moon. With the start of the season underway, Auburn would begin 3-0, beating Mississippi State 24-20 with a last-second touchdown in what would be their first SEC win since 2011, and would end a 10-game losing streak.
Prescott, two throws, flushed out, pressure, runs out, fires, caught. The 44 hit immediately, 1 second, ball game, zeros on the board. The Tigers have miraculously won their 2013 SEC opener. Oh, what a dramatic finish.
Next week, reality would kick back in after Auburn would lose to LSU 35-21, setting their record at 3-1. But it wasn't the end for Auburn, it was only the beginning. Auburn would go on to win 6 straight before facing Georgia in what would be the beginning of their almost miracle season. With 36 seconds left in the game, Auburn trailed 38-37 on a 4th and 18. What would happen next would go down as the second best play in Auburn history.
Let's it go.
What was so important about this play is how it kept Auburn in the hunt for another championship appearance. But their next challenge would be their hardest, because Bama was coming to town. With kickoff underway, Bama made their presence known first. A.J. McCarron had Alabama on top 21-7 before Auburn staged a 14-point comeback, going drive for drive with the #1 team in the nation. But late, Auburn trailed, and with the help of great quarterback play, Nick Marshall dropped back and found Sammy Coates open for a 39-yard touchdown to tie the game with 32 seconds left. But it wasn't over. Alabama would line up from Auburn's 38 in an attempt to win the game on a 57-yard field goal, pretty much sending them to the national championship. However, the kick was short, leading to the greatest football sequence I've ever laid my eyes on.
And here is a red shirt freshman from Calhoun, Georgia. Very little wind. What small amount there is at his back. Mandel will hold it. Now they've officially made it 57 yards.
Remember, a block kick can go the other way, too. He's got to be careful and get it up.
On the way. No, returned by Chris Davis. Davis goes left. Davis gets a block. Davis has another block. Chris Davis. No flags. Touchdown. Auburn. An answered prayer.
The kick six. This play would give Auburn the win and send them to the SEC championship, where they would amass an easy win against first-time SEC East winners, Missouri, in a dominant fashion, sending them to the national championship against true freshman Heisman winner Jameis Winston and Florida State. In a battle of dominant offenses, it would be Auburn who sparked first, getting out to a dominant 21-3 lead before allowing Florida State to score 17 unanswered to get themselves back into the game, and then take the lead on a 100-yard kick return touchdown by Winfield.
Parker's kick into the end zone, and the Seminoles are going to bring it out. This is Kermit Whitfield to the left side, a hole to the 30, 35, 40, Kermit Whitfield to the 50, to the 40, Kermit Whitfield to the 30, to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown FSU, Kermit Whitfield, a 100-yard touchdown.
And even though Auburn would once again take the lead, it was Florida State who would have the last laugh, scoring a touchdown with 13 seconds left that would put an end to the most magical season of all time. But there's no way Auburn falls back into mediocrity for a second time, right? Well, although Gus seemed to be a way better coach than the previous coach, he still couldn't fix the poor recruiting and team management errors Auburn had that kept other teams like Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson relevant. The next few seasons for Auburn would be nothing short of pathetic, going 11-13 in their SEC over the next 3 years. Auburn was a laughingstock again, until 2017. Gus had Auburn set up for greatness after leading his 7-2 Auburn team over #1 Georgia in dominant fashion, 40-17. Then once again defeating Bama in the Iron Bowl, sending his team to the SEC championship game in a rematch against a Georgia team they've already dominated. If they win, it would send them to the playoff for the first time. However, they didn't win.
In motion from left to right, out of the shotgun, give it to Fromm. He's going to hand it off to Swift. Swift's got running room. Swift by the defense, 40, 30, they won't catch him. Go, Swift, into the end zone, touchdown! The freshman just ran it back to Philadelphia.
It also didn't help that they would go on to lose in the Peach Bowl to UCF, giving their team a final record of 10-4. What was next for Auburn is their normal 1 to 3 years of 8-5 overall records and struggling against the SEC teams, only to hope for a dominant return to the landscape soon. This team has brought up a level of mediocrity that has gone unseen and unnoticed, besides from the Auburn fans. After 3 more forgettable seasons, Auburn finally fired Gus Malzahn, giving fans hope that they may find someone ready to turn around the mediocre team that is Auburn, and finally right Auburn's ship to a level of dominance such as Alabama and maybe even LSU and Georgia. The fans have spoken, and it seems like the team will finally listen, because another 53-year drought doesn't sound too fun, but it is looking likely. Or maybe not. Auburn announced that the replacement for Gus Malzahn will be Bryan Harsin, the current Boise State head coach. Harsin has kept a winning mentality at Boise State after Chris Peterson's departure, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up without him. His job is now to bring a winning environment to Auburn, and while the players have already discussed their disappointments in the hiring process of Harsin, we won't truly see how he'll pan out until next season. He'll no longer be recruiting out of Idaho. He now recruits in the South, against 3 of the best recruiters in the nation, Saban, Kirby Smart, and Dabo Swinney. As of now, the future for Auburn doesn't look too good, but they'll be looking forward to bringing that winning mentality back to the team sooner or later, and it'll start when they face Northwestern in the Citrus Bowl. Thank you guys for sticking through to the end of the video. This has been episode 2 of The Problem With. We look forward to dropping more episodes soon and hope you stick around till then. Be sure to subscribe and leave a like for more content and let us know what you think in the comments. This has been Kid. See you soon.